Hey everybody, it's Michael Jeffries here, and I thought we'd take a look at Adyashanti's book, Falling into Grace. Adyashanti was hugely popular in the 90s and early 2000s. Kind of like reminded me of like just a friendly kind of Zen teacher, which makes sense, right? Because his teacher was a Zen teacher. And just the title, Falling into Grace, falling. I mean, it's not a doing. And that which isn't a doing is unknown to me. In other words, I don't know how to do not doing. I don't know how to know unknowing. So in a way, it's not available. Unknowing isn't even on the radar, so to say, as a thing. I just know what I know. That's my world. But for some, there can be a longing for something that is not known. Call it the eternal mystery. And so this is what Adyashanti talks about in Falling into Grace. We're going to look at chapter 4. It's called Letting Go of Struggle. And I want to go to the sub-chapter. And the title is The Unknown is Our Doorway. The unknown is our doorway. I mean, there's a statement. The unknown is my doorway. Well, the first thing I notice is I can't really do much with that. Right? Like, where do you even begin to look for the unknown doorway? So let's see what Adyashanti has to say about this. He says, in order to see through the mind and the deeply ingrained sense of separation that continues to generate so much confusion and suffering in our lives, we must take a chance. We must leave what we know and enter that mysterious reality of the unknown. The unknown is a very intimate place. You may feel very exposed when you open yourself to this inner space of unknowing. But really, the unknown is our only doorway. So I just want to pause here because that to me is a strong statement. When when you say it's the only doorway, that needs to be investigated, right? Let's take a look at that. Because he's saying that anything known isn't going to do the job. That's what he's saying. And so immediately I can begin to notice that maybe I don't like going to the unknown. Maybe the mind feels safer. At least I know. So this whole not knowing is foreign to me. I don't know anything about it. So let's see what Adyashanti has to say. Let's continue. It's by allowing ourselves to not know that we can become truly sensitive, open, and available. It's the most humbling thing in the world to admit that we don't know. To surrender to the fact that we can't know the nature of reality with our minds. This realization is what opens the way for us. The way to the greatest knowing is through not knowing. As the great mystic St. John of the Cross said, in order to come to the knowledge you have not, you must go by a way in which you know not. I love this quote, says Adyashanti. It's entirely paradoxical. It is what I spoke about earlier in what my teacher referred to as the backward step. Coming to knowledge, not through knowing, but through not knowing. Once you get to the frontier of your mind, to its farthest outreach, you'll come to a place where you can't go any further. Where the next thought would just take you back into the mind rather than beyond it. When most people get to this point, they either turn back into their mind or they just start to move along this imaginary frontier, imagining what it would be like to move beyond it. This is the doorway to the place beyond suffering. When you find yourself at this boundary of your mind, when you've gone to that place where you realize that you can't go any deeper within the mind, then you begin to stop. You begin to let go. You begin to embrace this unknowing. Embracing the unknown makes us wonderfully and beautifully humble. Not humiliated, but truly humble. true humility is a very open state. It's a state of great availability. And it's from this state of great availability and openness, from this willingness to realize how little we really know, that our consciousness begins to shift. It begins to shift from the mind and ego into its natural state. By natural, I mean something that's not conceived, something that's not staged or altered, something that doesn't take effort to maintain. In order to find the end of struggle, we have to find a state of consciousness that's totally natural, that doesn't fight against our inner or outer environment. That's what I call aware spirit or awake spirit. It's an awake emptiness. That may sound abstract, but simply put, it's the openness to a lived sense of not knowing. What are you when you don't define yourself? What becomes of the past, of the present, or of the future when you don't go into your mind to think about it? It's not so difficult to have a taste of this, to get a feel for this openness and ease. But don't be satisfied with just a fleeting moment of this state of being. This is the doorway in. Dive fully into this openness and avail yourself of the intimacy found there in not knowing.